Hardball tactics from a Republican Colorado senator have led to an apparent change in federal marijuana policy. President Trump is now pledging to support new laws that protect the marijuana industry in states that have legalized pot. Senator Gardner says President Trump has assured him it will remain an issue for the states. Just 3 months ago, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions made moves that encouraged federal prosecutors to pursue cases against people who were protected by state marijuana laws. In retaliation, Gardner took the extraordinary step of using the power of his position to prevent consideration of nominees for the Justice Department.
I did put a series of holds on a number of nominees. As a result of this decision, I've lifted those because this is the development that we were looking for, a solution that protects states' rights.
Marijuana use has been fully legalized in 8 states, including California. Gardner hopes to introduce bipartisan legislation protecting state marijuana markets from federal interference.
Well. So what is going on here exactly? We have a actual interview with Gardner as well that I was going to play. But let's go ahead and read this statement from Gardner. Now, I haven't heard from Trump yet on this, to be honest. And I've read a couple things. I haven't seen any statement or tweet or anything like that from Trump. Seems he's a little busy right now trying to manage whatever's going on in the world. So maybe, like we always hear the people talking about, oh, marijuana's not that big of a deal. You know, there's a lot of people that think that it is, though. So let's dispel with that right now. Like, we're not out here trying to, you know, act like people getting arrested for using their medicine is not a big deal, or the police doing like atrocities on a daily basis. That's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. And Gardner was seriously holding Trump hostage with his nominees for real. That was real shit. There was no big deal about that either. And I'm so sick of, like, every time we do this, everything about this just seems to be like no big deal to anybody. Well, it is a big deal. Billions of dollars are at stake in an industry that's basically coming up off the ground despite the wishes of the Department of Justice of this country. That's a big deal. We're making history with this. It's a fucking huge deal. So quit with this "it's not a big deal" stuff, man. And second, why are we so quick to trust Trump on anything? Is there people still out there defending Trump? This guy fucking doesn't have any convictions at all. He basically gets in every situation he's in. He tells whoever's in the room what they want to hear or what is going to make him look like he's doing the best thing and the coolest thing and the most popular thing. That's how he won presidency. He duped everybody into, you know, thinking that he's somebody that's on your side. America first. Nothing of the sort, man. This guy doesn't give a shit about nobody or nothing, which is why I half believe he will do this, because him and Sessions haven't been getting along ever since he appointed Sessions. He appointed Sessions, and Sessions was like, you know, well, I'm not going to be in charge of the investigation against you because, you know. So after he recused himself from that investigation, the relationship between him and Trump has been just, you know, terrible. Like, the honeymoon was over, and now it's like the fights have just not, you know, nonstop berating, tweeting, whatever they do. And Sessions is, you know, still pushing this marijuana bullshit agenda, which there's another story that I haven't really covered, but I think I'm going to mention it on the weekly show. But if you don't catch that, I'm going to say it here. I guess Governor Hickenlooper from Colorado did allude to some kind of a private conversation that he had with Sessions, where basically Sessions is just trying to be a boogeyman and trying to instill fear into the industry and make there be this level of uncertainty. And I kind of believe that, because what it feels like is happening is, you know, they're trying to make things as illegal as possible until they're legal, because they're waiting for all their people to get in place to take the whole thing over, like I've been reporting on all along. rewind back to when I was talking about Gardner and the appointees. Trump, and furthering the narrative about Trump and this investigation against him, he's trying to fire more people that are in this investigation, because he thinks that if you fire people and appoint people that might favor you, then the investigation will go more in your favor, or whatever. And I mean, whatever. Trump, I doubt Trump came to the table just because of that on this particular issue. But if you're gonna say that, his career is on his political career is on the line, and he's really getting desperate, and this is like the ninth hour move or some shit, then I'm game for that. But whatever, I just say take all of this with a grain of salt, because first of all, it's Trump, all right? Second of all, it's just Trump. I have not heard anybody else say anything about this. Remember we had that the 8 Republicans. Yeah, again, if you don't watch the weekly show, I did a story about the 8 Republicans who are your biggest enemies for legalizing marijuana. We got to get it by them too. We got Pete Sessions. We got, you still got Paul Ryan, who is in charge of what does or doesn't get a vote, or what amendments get in, or, he's ultimately the person that runs the goddamn, the processes in the House. And then you got Mitch McConnell. Well, he seems to be warming up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. So here's this, and it's real, okay? I don't think Mitch McConnell was even on the list. We got the policy committee chairman, Luke Mesner. We got Kevin McCarthy, who's the House Majority Leader. He can control when pieces of legislation receive votes on House floor. He's the guy that, if he don't like something, he's just not going to let it go through for a vote. Same with John Barrasso. He's with the Senate Policy Committee. This committee helps research policy and provide recommendations. So basically something can go to that committee and just probably either die or come out so altered that it's not the same thing as it was when it went in there. You got John Cornyn. He's the whip who has to whip up votes. So if you do got something that does make it all the way to a vote, there's a possibility that, in the Senate, it don't get enough votes from Republicans. I didn't really look at what the potential is for that, but I'm going to go ahead and say it'll probably be close, and there's probably some Senate Democrats that'll vote against something. So you got to get, Cornyn to whip up some votes, maybe, especially on the Republican side, because that's what he is, and he's a big prohibitionist. He called Senator Cory Booker's bill a big mistake. And then, like I said, Mitch McConnell wasn't on this list. He is. He just introduced a bill to legalize hemp, but don't be fooled. Hemp is very different from marijuana. McConnell continues to support anti-marijuana measures. Paul Ryan. And so the Speaker of the House is basically the person who can stop something from coming to the floor for a vote. It's his house. I mean, let's put it that way. It's his house, and they're still the majority, so you still have Kevin McCarthy, the majority leader. He's still a huge prohibitionist too. And he has consistently voted against protecting marijuana laws in legalized states. So this is, unless Trump does an executive order, I don't know how you get it through all these guys. And then you got Pete Sessions, last but not least. He's in the House Rules Committee, which is the place where all amendments go to die. All the good ones especially ones for marijuana, because especially since he's been there. Since 2014, I think he's killed like 5 or 6 things that could have greatly helped, well, not just things, but 5 or 6 times that he killed marijuana amendments, among them being banking amendments to give marijuana businesses banking privileges, protections and otherwise, you know, the ability to not have to drive around town with bags of money all the time. Stuff like that. And then just protections and medical marijuana protections, medical marijuana research, amendments to help veterans access medical marijuana, just you name it. Just anything good for marijuana. Pete Sessions has killed these amendments before, and he'll do it again. So please tell me how this is going to happen. And then I believe what Cory Gardner is talking about here is literally just writing a piece of paper and trying to send it through the House to get passed, and knowing that Trump's going to sign it when it, you know, and not veto it or whatever as a standalone piece of legislation. That's my theory about what he's talking. I think that's what he's talking about. We'll see. Again, let's just finish off the materials, and I think I'm done with this story. But I guess, you know, if you're looking for my take on it, man, like don't read into this too much, because unless we see something solid, like either a presidential, you know, he's been doing a lot since he got into office. Now, I remember before President Trump got elected, he was riding Obama's ass all the time about his overusing the presidential power of, you know, writing legislation or whatever. So when you talk about executive orders, since Trump has been elected, he has set the record on executive orders. And I believe it was the most executive orders in the shortest amount of time, which was the most stunning record. But he could do that. He could totally write a protection as an executive order. I'm sure if you find the right lawyers and you can figure it out, you can get that done. All right. Or you could take one of the many amendments that are on the spending bill and adjust that a little bit and send it back through. I'm not sure, man. So if Cory Gardner has something, which I think I've already seen stuff from him that looks like these protections, that would be nice too. So this is a press release from Cory Gardner. Gardner protects Colorado's legal marijuana industry. Receives commitment from President Trump to support legislation to protect states' rights. Senator Cory Gardner, Republican from Colorado, today released the below statement regarding the current status of the administration's policy towards marijuana. In response to the Department of Justice January 4th announcement that Attorney General Sessions has rescinded the Cole Memorandum, Senator Gardner placed a hold on all DOJ nominees until he received a commitment that Colorado's rights would not be infringed. After positive discussions with the DOJ, Gardner lifted some of his holds but kept the rest in place until he received a full commitment that the guidelines of the Cole Memo would be respected. Now, another thing about trusting Republicans, we've seen what happened with DACA when the Democrats tried to trust McConnell, and they're, oh, we'll help you do a DACA deal later. That is such an empty promise, and there was nothing written, no promise written on paper. This has the same feel to it. Like Trump needed to get some nominees through, and he needed to stop Gardner from doing future holds in case he wants to fire a bunch of people and have new people come in, which, if you've been keeping up with the Trump administration, I think his revolving door process has been like on hyperspeed compared to any other president. I mean, he's already went through what would be considered like 3 cabinets, and he's only been president for a little over a year. It's pretty weird. So anyway, I keep getting sidetracked, but yeah, you get the idea. Like, do you really just take this at his word that he's going to support this later on down the line? Even the president, and I mean, we've seen him roll back this and flip-flop on that on issue after issue, especially the marijuana issue. He could have came out a lot earlier and just said, well, you know, I'm for states' rights, so I'm not going to sick the dogs on you if you're following the rules over at your state or whatever. He could have done that all along, man, and we would have not cared about anything Sessions was barking about. Quote, since the campaign, President Trump has consistently supported states' rights to decide for themselves on how best to approach marijuana, said Gardner. Late Wednesday, I received a commitment from the president that the Department of Justice rescission of the Cole memo will not impact Colorado's legal marijuana industry. Now, that just sounds like something Trump just would say to make you happy and go away right there, in my opinion. I mean, he's one of those kind of people, man. You stroke his ego and he'll throw you a bone, and it's like, roll over, bark, here's a treat. Furthermore, President Trump has assured me that he will support a federalism-based legislative solution to fix the states' right issue once and for all. That's what we want to see happen. We want to see that happen, and we want to see it soon, because this isn't the kind of thing that you just like dilly-dally around with. Quote, because of these commitments, I have informed the administration that I'll be lifting my remaining holds on the Department of Justice nominees. My colleagues and I are continuing to work diligently on bipartisan legislative solutions that can pass Congress and head to the president's desk to deliver on his campaign position. So let's say that again. My colleagues and I are continuing to work diligently on a bipartisan legislative solution that can pass Congress and head to the president's desk to deliver on his campaign position. Can pass Congress with those people that are going to get it, and they're going to hammer it, and they're going to pass it around and put more dents in it, and then it's going to make it over to, you know, Pete Sessions' committee after it gets looked at by, you know, this other, this policy committee over here with John Barrasso. John Barrasso's not your friend either. And what is his committee? This committee helps research policy and provide recommendations to the party on what pieces of legislation to support. I remember saying that, considering he said that the risks of medical marijuana greatly exceed the benefits. We're guessing his research isn't proving a lot of support for cannabis legalization, especially recreational. Now, Cory Gardner is from Colorado, and Colorado, he cares about protecting the businesses doing marijuana businesses in general, not just medical marijuana only. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the medical marijuana companies also do recreational. It's like they do both. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me see. I got this video clip. He was on Fox talking about it. See what he had to say. And please bear with me if my computer, the internet's been acting really weird. Weather, I don't know what's the cause, but here we go.
Pompeo should be confirmed to that seat. I wanted to ask you about, I understand a conversation that you had with the president about something that you've been really tracking closely, and that is the issue between the federal government and states like Colorado that have legalized marijuana. What's the update?
Yeah. Well, I believe in states' rights, and the other day the president notified me that he would be supporting a states' rights approach when it comes to legalized marijuana. The states will be able to determine what they want going forward on recreational medical marijuana. So we're going to be working on legislation. He said he would support that legislative effort. We're going to get together with people on both sides of the aisle to put that forward and get it onto the president's desk.
Do you think that supersedes then anything that the Attorney General has put forward at the Justice Department?
Yeah, what the president has said is that states like Colorado will be protected, the legal industry, as long as it's following state law as we work on this state's approach. The president during his campaign said he supported states' rights and believed that a states' rights approach was the best direction for decisions like this, and this is a continuation of that campaign promise that he laid out.
And beyond that, you know, yesterday we talked about how former Speaker John Boehner is now on board of the train to try to deschedule marijuana from the Schedule 1 list on the federal government's illegal substances list. Do you think that that's going to actually go anywhere this year? Because it seems like to me that it's gaining steam.
Yeah, it certainly is gaining steam, and I think 80% of the American people believe that states should be left to determine this decision. States should have this ability on their own to decide whether they do this or they don't. And so I think that's the direction that we head, is we let states determine. This is a states' rights issue, a 10th Amendment issue, an Interstate Commerce Clause issue, and that's what most people recognize.
Yes, it is certainly changing things. All right, Senator Cory Gardner, have a good weekend. Thank you.
Well, but don't count on, you know, this to be the question. That's not going to be the thing that they go hammer out this bipartisan piece of legislation and then get it passed, and one that will pass and then go get it signed by President Trump. That's not what's going to happen. You guys aren't going to go for a total descheduling. You're just going to go for protection, and it's just going to be the bare minimum thing, language like we see in the Cole memo, and applied also to recreational marijuana. Will that pass bipartisan? I doubt it, man. Like, you're going to have to take the recreational out of it probably. And then at that point, Colorado's not completely protected, and Cory Gardner didn't get his way. He got, that's one possible scenario that I see as more possible than this thing going off without a hitch and the protections being made into law. But that's what we want to see, is we want to see these protections made into law. I mean, we want to see like total decriminalization and legalization across the board, and descheduling and all that. We know what we really want, but right now, I guess the fight is, to throw Jeff Sessions a bone, or do we throw Jeff Sessions into the kennel at the dog pound? I don't know. That's all I got on this, man. Don't get too excited about it. And if you're one of those Trump people out there that are just like, you love Trump no matter what he does or doesn't do, don't act like this is something.